Well, two for sale signs south of the border now in what is increasingly becoming a trend amid growing political tensions and economic uncertainty. Some Canadian snowbirds are packing up.
How do you destroy a trillion-dollar economy without a single natural disaster? Florida's politicians just showed us. They kicked out visitors spending $33,000 every winter. They turned affordable neighborhoods into ghost towns, watched hospitals close and businesses collapse. And then they celebrated their tough policies while billions in revenue fled to Mexico and Portugal, and the people paying the price are regular Floridians who just lost everything. Florida used to be the success story everyone wanted to copy. Nearly $1.5 trillion in GDP, tourism numbers that made other states jealous, a housing market that, despite its problems, kept people moving there in droves. But here's the thing about success. It only takes a few terrible decisions to undo decades of growth. Today, we're breaking down exactly how Florida's politicians managed to kneecap their own economy. And trust me, when you hear what they did to their Canadian visitors, you're going to wonder if anyone in charge was actually paying attention. This isn't just another story about government incompetence. This is about how political posturing destroyed real communities, real businesses, and real lives. Let's start with the craziest example of economic self-sabotage this year. You know those Canadian snowbirds, the ones who spend winters in Florida, pumping money into local economies for 3 to 6 months at a time? Well, Florida just told them to get lost. Here's what happened. Politicians decided to implement new federal regulations requiring any Canadian staying longer than 30 days to submit fingerprints and undergo extensive security checks. Now, on paper, someone probably thought this sounded tough on security, but in reality, it was economic suicide. Think about what $33,000 per household every winter actually means. That's medical facilities booking procedures months in advance because they know their patient base doubles. Restaurants hiring extra staff in October because the dinner rush is about to last 4 months straight. Entire local economies built their calendars around these people showing up like clockwork every December. The Canadians felt the message loud and clear. You're not welcome here anymore. And they responded exactly how you'd expect. They left. Not just for a season, but forever. The numbers are staggering. Canadian flights to Florida dropped 38%. Winter rental bookings fell 31%. And what about property searches from Canadian buyers? Down 45%. But those are just statistics. The real story is what happened on the ground. Dorothy Chabot and her husband from London, Ontario spent 15 years traveling to Florida, first owning a condo in Port Charlotte, then renting in a community near Orlando. This February, they decided they'd had enough. They're not alone. Fort Lauderdale realtor Alexandra DuPont, herself a Canadian expat, told CBC she currently has 36 Canadian clients listing condos. "I've never had this many listings in my life," she said. At this time of year, she would normally have 10 to 15. Take a small town like Naples or Fort Myers. Local hospitals just lost 60% of their winter revenue overnight, so now they're laying off nurses, closing entire departments, cutting services. And guess what? Year-round residents get stuck with a half-functioning hospital because the money to keep it running just disappeared. Restaurants that used to pack tables from December through March are closing by February now, if they survive at all. The servers, cooks, and managers who depended on those busy winter months to carry them through slower summers are looking for new jobs or leaving the state entirely. But while Florida was busy making Canadians jump through security hoops and places like Mexico and Portugal rolled out the red carpet, guess where those $33,000 per household winters are happening now? Not in Florida. You might think losing billions in tourism revenue would be enough of a crisis to handle, but Florida's politicians weren't done. They've also managed to turn the housing market into a complete disaster, and not in the way you might expect. Florida's always had expensive housing in certain areas, but what's happening now is different. This is a systematic breakdown caused by political decisions that make no sense unless your goal is to make housing impossible for regular people. Florida needs new homes desperately. Builders want to build them. Buyers want to buy them. So what's the problem? Tariffs on lumber and building materials. Construction costs shot up so high that builders can only make money on luxury homes now. Then there's insurance. Companies are fleeing the state. The ones that stay charge premiums that add hundreds to monthly costs. Property taxes keep climbing because local governments need to replace lost tourism revenue. Senior citizens on fixed incomes are selling homes they've owned for decades because the tax bill beats their old mortgage payment. The rental market? Florida needs hundreds of thousands of affordable units. Instead, they're building luxury apartments while teachers, firefighters, and nurses get priced out of the communities they serve. Political leaders keep announcing task forces and initiatives. Nothing happens, because fixing this would mean admitting they caused it. When tourism tanks, they blame global inflation, changing travel patterns, anything but their own policies. One state rep actually called the fleeing Canadians fair weather friends. $33,000 per winter sounds pretty committed to me. However, the housing crisis is apparently everyone's fault except theirs. Greedy developers who can't afford materials, outside investors they actively courted, new residents they marketed to, press conferences, bold announcements, solutions that sound good for exactly 5 seconds before you think about them. Like their recent proposal to fix housing costs with tax credits for first-time homebuyers. Sounds helpful until you realize tax credits don't help when you can't even qualify for a mortgage. It's like offering a discount on a yacht to someone who can't afford a rowboat. Meanwhile, working families are becoming homeless and entire communities are collapsing. But sure, let's form another task force, or the tourism recovery plan that focuses on attracting visitors from other states. Great idea, except domestic tourists don't stay for months spending tens of thousands of dollars. They come for a week, hit the theme parks, and leave. You can't replace snowbird economy with spring break economy and expect the same results. The worst part is the gaslighting. Politicians keep insisting the economy is strong, pointing to GDP numbers and employment statistics that don't reflect reality on the ground. Yes, the economy grew from 2021 to 2024, but that growth is slowing dramatically, and the foundations it was built on are crumbling. They celebrate unemployment being under 5% while ignoring that people can't live on the jobs available. What good is employment when a full-time worker can't afford a one-bedroom apartment anywhere near their job? So where does Florida go from here? Florida's projecting 2.5% growth for 2025. Sounds fine until you remember this state built everything around booming growth. The Canadian snowbirds? Gone for good. Those relationships are dead, and Mexico and Portugal are cashing their checks now. Texas, Arizona, and North Carolina are circling like vultures, ready to grab every business and resident Florida drives away. The politicians could admit they screwed up and fix this mess, but let's be real, they're going to double down and blame everyone else while more restaurants close, more hospitals cut services, and more families pack up and leave. The only question left is how bad it gets before someone finally stops the bleeding. And if you want to see how Europe is slowly taking all of America's tourists and what that means for the future of US tourism, check out our video on how Europe is becoming the world's new travel giant.